Caryn, it's lovely to be here in your garden.
Oh, it's lovely to have you.
This must be 20-something years since we first met and started
Yes.
working here.
Yeah.
And since then, you have done wonders.
Oh, thank you.
So when I first met you, you had just finished being a medic. You're obviously a wonderful gynecologist and obstetrician, very scientific. And at that stage, I didn't realise you had this massive art side to you, artistic side. And since you started here, we started with your garden, and then you moved on and developed the cookery school.
Yes.
And then the hotel.
Yes.
And all these amazing buildings. And then you've developed the brand, your brand, the Bertioli brand.
Yes.
With the wonderful mint fragrances from your water meadows down that way.
Yes.
And the fabrics, the wallpapers in
Yes.
all the hotel rooms, and all the wonderful things.
And table linens.
And table linens.
Yes.
I love your big tablecloth that you gave me. So it is impressive that someone from a medical background with that sort of mind can then develop this creative side, and then can develop the brand, and then it's all the business sense. I mean, you are, would you say, a polymath? Or what do you think is your...
I am, but I'm just interested in lovely things. And when you're developing a business like Thyme, there are so many facets to it that need you to understand. It's something that, you know, it's a complicated thing, and what I think makes it wonderful is all of these different bits all coming together, and the sum of that all making something even better, really. And it is all about attention to detail, and so I don't like to do anything if I don't understand it. So you know, and I have learnt an awful lot, and I've certainly made mistakes along the way. I mean, it's not easy at all. But I think the important thing is to have a passion and be, you know, I was really driven to do something that that was worthwhile, really. And so it's much more than creating a place. I mean, yes, it's a lovely place, but I think for it to actually say something and you know, be full of lovely things is really important.
I mean, it's a lovely place for you to relax in your house and garden, but obviously the hotel for other people to come and relax and chill and go. The huge vegetable gardens that you've got that produce the food for the fabulous restaurant, for the pub, and then the spa and all the deep breathing, and your medical influence has come into it, hasn't it?
Well, it is an extension of, as I say, it's an extension of our home, but it is all filled with all the things that I love.
Yes.
So, and you know, I think that's really important. So to start off with it, we started with the cookery school, and we wanted to have that connection with the land. So growing your own vegetables and really working with the freshest, loveliest produce, seasonal produce. That was really one of the founding ethoses. And then as we sort of moved on to develop the business, the people staying, I really wanted it to speak about our love of nature. So everything we do really talks about our love of the land and of nature, and needing to nurture that. And in nurturing that, we nurture ourselves. So you know, all the patterns and the botanicals all come from the gardens, and so everywhere you touch, it's a sort of multi-sensorial, I hope. You know, it's a sort of really warm, cosseting environment that that makes you feel at home.
Yeah, no, it definitely does. And this terrace, I think, with your magnolias, they're just starting to lose their leaves now.
Yes.
I love the pleached yew trees. I think they work really well, don't they? Not many people pleach yew trees, do they?
I think they're brilliant, Bunny, and that was your idea. But the idea to have something there that was a little bit taller and balanced the house, because the house doesn't sit symmetrically with the garden. And putting something to the side of it that extended the terrace and made it sit more symmetrically with the garden, I think and has worked really well. It's something really simple, but structural, and gives that sort of full stop at the end of the terrace. I think really works.
And the wall I quite like, the fact that you can sit on it, and it's sort of, because you do entertain a lot and it's often full of people, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it is nice to form a nice stop. And then you've got
wonderful.
this amazing view to the park from where you've got your sheep and the little woods and things like that.
And my yew trees here that I planted as little hedge trees when we first arrived.
Tiny, but that was 20 odd years ago, wasn't it? 20, it must
I
be
can remember
24
playing
years ago.
hopscotch over them with the children.
Yes, No, it works really well, and the views all round of the church and things. And you can just see the Sophie Ryder hair
at the
down
end,
at the bottom, which I think looks really nice.
Well, I think it has all worked so well because to begin with, there wasn't that complete symmetry, and actually symmetry is important, and
or balance.
Well, also we've managed to actually get it that it does work. I mean, it reads as all the lines are good with it. So I think it's worked really well.
And then there's a little kitchen garden, which I love. Should we go and have a look at that?
Yeah, absolutely.
This garden, right by your kitchen French windows, must be the garden you use most, is it?
It is. Well, the great thing is it's got the wonderful double doors, which we put in when we first arrived. The really major bit of building work we did was to create the kitchen, because it was a series of small rooms.
I didn't realise that.
Yes, and that was something where we put that archway in, and the arch here at the back door. And that communication of inside outside is so important for me. So in the summer we have those doors open all the time. Really. And yes, coming outside and actually, the terrace was narrower, and just extending it that few further meters has just made all the difference, because it, the space welcomes you outside into this lovely little parterre garden, which is lovely and catches the sun. We get the evening sun, and we've got the church just there.
No, it's a lovely space, because I think of it as a kitchen garden, but obviously the real kitchen garden wouldn't be next to it, but it is quite useful for your herbs and things like that.
I've
for
got
your
just herbs in it.
For your swoosh. What do you call
whoosh?
Your whoosh. So when you're
herb whoosh.
So I love this tip, this culinary tip. I think it's my best ever. So when you're doing a lovely joint or a bit of fish, you just get some herbs, pound them up with some oil. Tell me.
Oil. So it's really just any herbs, and I think you choose a herb that you think will go with water. So it's a more delicate, soft herbs in the summer. You can use harder herbs in the winter. Rosemary
harder in terms of rosemary and thicker leaves.
Yes, thicker leaves. That actually survives the winter.
Yeah.
And you just pound that with maybe a little bit of garlic, maybe half a garlic clove, not too much garlic. Olive oil, lemon juice, salt and pepper, and then you can add things to it. So you can put capers with it if you want to. You could put walnuts with it. You could put chili. You could use anchovies. So you can vary it depending on how strong you want it to be, and to complement. If it's a fish, you want to do something quite delicate. If it's a robust lamb or perhaps a beef, you can make it a little bit more robust.
Yeah, and you've got
really
all the herbs on hand for you to do
outside,
your herb whoosh, swoosh.
Exactly.
Which is it? Whoosh,
I think
swoosh,
both.
Whoosh,
Doesn't
or
matter.
Swoosh or whoosh, yes.
Whatever takes your fancy.
So these pittosporums haven't been in that long, have they? But they are starting. They're in baseless pots.
Yeah.
And they are just starting to fill out a bit more, which are nice. And I do love the topiary. And these little lollipops work quite well, aren't they?
Really
Again,
well.
in baseless pots, which pushes them up.
The thing that's been amazing here, well, firstly, the rosemary's obviously likes
grown,
it,
hasn't it?
But the gaura,
the
gaura has flowered all through the summer. Absolutely. In fact, you've even got some flowers on it now, and has really thrived. So it's been fantastic.
There are so many different gauras available now. When I first started using them, it was it's Gaura Lindeimer, I can never pronounce it, Siskiyou or whatever was the pink one, and there's a white one. But now there are lots of them. But I do find in a wet winter you can lose them. And so it is worth taking some cuttings. Mind you, last winter was very, very wet, wasn't it?
Well, we've certainly, because we used them in the Oxbarn garden where they're just in the gravel.
Yes,
where we've got quite a lot of gravel, and you just don't worry about it, just put it straight in the gravel.
Yeah.
And it has absolutely worked.
Every time we do that, we're just doing a job for a sheep wash barn at the moment, and I've said, no soil, just put them in the gravel.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
it is very hard, and they do grow
they
with a
do.
little trowel full
They
of
do.
compost at
Yeah,
most.
yeah.
Yeah, and they like it hard,
But
they
these
really do.
ones, I don't know if they are a different variety, but they have been so much more floriferous than the ones that we've got in the so maybe I should take some cuttings from those.
I think it is worth it. They will
Okay.
root in a couple of weeks, and they're quite hardy
my-
inside as a little rooted cutting in a cold greenhouse.
Yes.
Yeah, they are very good indeed, I think. But it's the scale of these spaces with these funny little greenhouses that you've got, which
Absolutely,
I love.
yeah.
Partly, it's all very idiosyncratic, isn't it? Beautiful walls, beautiful buildings, lovely scale. And direct connection. And then you've got your outdoor kitchen with your pizza oven, and I love the covered space. I think with when it's all laid up with your beautiful linen.
It's a really
idyllic.
user-friendly space it is, and actually having this seating area here with the fire pit is also really great. Actually, sit out here. It really has extended our living space actually, because it is an extra room here.
Yeah.
As long as it's not raining.
Yeah. Well, if it does rain, I think that's very clever, because that was here when I first came, wasn't it? And all it is corrugated perspex.
It is.
On top of some stonework, and then
well, there's some canes underneath, which sort of split canes. Which,
split canes.
Well, there's that, or we've used heather. I think.
Heather, we use heather on the ones in the hotel.
Which
we
really,
use heather
really
panels, and that works really well. But it's a very Heath Robinson approach.
Yeah.
But it works.
It does work.
And it's very inexpensive.
Exactly. You've just got to make sure the water goes off in the right direction.
Yes, and not back onto the thing, which would not be good.
Yeah.
Can we have a look at the stew pond and the water meadows?
Absolutely. Yes, come.
So when you first saw the house, this is the bit that really appealed to you. I can see why.
Yeah. I mean, it's just magical. I mean, there's something about running water which is, I think, particularly special. And to have this coming through the gardens is just so lucky. And yeah, when we first viewed it, I was standing in my welly boots in the river, and a kingfisher flew past, and I just thought, wow, just wonderful.
And the water meadows are really special, though, aren't they? They are water meadows, so they're designed to flood.
They flood.
Yes.
Yeah, they absolutely do.
And you've got all sorts of orchids and.
Yes, I mean it's wonderful that the lovely flowers and grasses, a huge sort of succession of wildflowers that come throughout the year, starting with the sort of more delicate ones with primroses and fritillary, moving on through, buttercups and orchids, lots of orchids, and then into the sort of later meadowsweet, much stronger ones later in the season. Yeah.
And birds, your bird life is amazing.
It's amazing. Well, I think that it's the great thing about birds is that they can fly over boundaries. So I think that we've still got a wonderful, population of birds, from the sort of predatory birds at the top. So we've got our raptors going all the way down to our little songbirds and the migratory birds as well. I mean, I think, there are things like the egrets here. Really, sometimes it does remind me of Africa. Our birds that arrive here in April may well have been sitting on the back of an elephant in the Congo. That's the amazing thing about it. And that feeling of connection to wild spaces. And in the winter, of course, you've got the northern European birds coming down from Russia and the steppes down into the water meadows here for a warmer place to overwinter.
And you have actually been monitoring them? And
yes. Yeah. Well, we've been carrying out a survey on the meadows here for probably six or 7 years now, and we've learnt so much. I mean that just simply. You'd never know these things were here unless it's a woodpecker. And I never thought I'd become a real enthusiast with bird life. But yeah, we started looking at it, and without that ability to with the experts, you really wouldn't know what was here.
But they're ringing them, and they're recording them.
And weighing them and sexing them and looking at firstly, you know, what the diversity of what species we've got living here. But then so often, you know, you'll get to know, you'll recatch a bird. It doesn't happen that often, but I think there are several things. I mean, often you think that there's prolific amounts of wildlife all around, but you begin to realise that if there's a robin in that bush, when you see a robin the next day, it's the same robin, you know, and I think that's wonderful, really. I've certainly developed a desire to make sure that we nurture the meadows and nurture the birds that live here. You know, they depend on the wonderful diversity of small mammals that we have. We have 2 nesting pairs of barn owls. We have all 5 species of British owl here. So tawny owl, little owl, and the long and short-eared owls all use these spaces here.
And a golden moles. You've got golden moles. But they're
anyway.
unusual. I thought they were just a thing of fiction.
No,
I didn't think they're
a real thing.
But your whole, the whole gardens all around your home and Thyme are phenomenal, aren't they, for the guests? So you've got the massive cutting gardens, the vegetable gardens.
The vegetable gardens and the cutting gardens are really wonderful, and they're a little walk away from where the main hotel is, where Thyme's, where all the barns is, through the fields. But you know, we really encourage guests to go down and see, because we work really hard at growing beautiful produce that Charlie can use in the menus, both in the Oxbow and at the Swan. And it really makes the food taste different, you know, stuff that's, you know, things that have been picked that morning. And I think the other thing is just it's so much work, you know, when you understand the work that has gone into putting, say, a homegrown tomato on a plate, or it's an awful lot of, it goes through the hands of an awful lot of people. You know, somebody's planted it, watered it, then somebody's picked it, taken it down to the kitchens, somebody's put it on a plate, and then somebody's taken it to the table. It's a lot of coordination to get that working well.
And then they can also eat either in the restaurant or outside in the Oxbow yard.
On the yard,
And then all the various gardens around the buildings. It's sort of, it is a village within a village, as you say, isn't it? It really is, with all different things on it. Oh, well, it's lovely to see it, even on this sort of winter day. It still looks lovely, doesn't it? I think. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bunny. Thank you.